Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Learn Tarot with me video course. So what we're doing today is we're going to be going through all of the cards of the wand suit. I have already made some videos which you can find in the playlist. I do have a playlist including all of these videos. I have a video talking about the overview of the minor arcana, as well as a video talking about all of the major arcana. So today we are focusing on the wand suit of the minor arcana. So I really do recommend, if you haven't watched the overview video of the minor arcana, you go do that. But we're going to briefly talk about it here as well. So very briefly, the wands, again, they are really representative of the fire element and of action. So doing things, spontaneity, passion, fiery, going for things. That is what the wands represent. Now, as I've mentioned before in the overview, when we're going to be looking at the cups, the swords, the pentacles, things like that, they all kind of talk about a different thing. And each card has its own meaning, but we still go from the ace to the 10 to the page to the queen. So we're going to go through each of these cards together. Now would be a great time to get out your notes and to take notes on each of these cards' meanings. Okay, so let's begin. So the first card we have here is the Ace of Wands. Now, you should know that every single ace, regardless of the suit it's in, whether it be wands, cups, pentacles, swords, is always talking about newness. It's talking about a new beginning, a start. So when we pair that with the wand energy, which is action, passion, spontaneity, this says that this is a new action. So when we say, for example, the Ace of Swords, which we haven't looked at yet, the sword energy has to do with the mind. So if we have the Ace of Swords, we're looking at, an initial thought, right? But this is the Ace of Wands. So that means this is about the initial action. So this is a beginning of actually doing something, an action, whether that be moving, sending a message to someone, traveling, getting a new job. It's the beginning of it. It's actually not a thought. It's full force ahead. That's the Ace of Wands. Next, we have the Two of Wands. Okay, so I want you to pay close attention when we're looking at the 2 versus the 3, because they are very similar cards. And at the beginning, when I was learning tarot, you can get them confused, that they are still different. They look very similar. So starting with the Two of Wands here, we have a man here. He's got his 2 wands, and he has the earth. We can presume that is the earth in his hand, and he's looking out in the distance. What the Two of Wands indicates is it indicates getting ready to do something, looking into the future, but getting ready to make plans for something, to actually do something. Now, I don't want to necessarily use the word plans, because a lot of times wand energy, it's really spontaneous more so. So the pentacles would be more planned. This is more like, the client would be looking out into the future. They have the world in their hands, so many options. They're looking out. What do they want to do? What do they want to do right now? It's time to take that step, but what do they want to do? They're thinking about it. They're looking at it. Are they wanting to travel? Are they wanting to get a new job? What are they doing, right? That depends on the other cards in the reading, but this card is really looking at the distance, but really thinking about making a plan, okay? So that's the Two of Wands. Now, the Three of Wands, as you can see, the imagery is very similar, but the Three of Wands is different in the sense that this man has already done what he's done in the Two of Wands. He is now waiting for results, okay? So he is looking at already what he has done, whether that be, like I said, traveling, getting a job, whatever. He's already done, and now he's looking at the fruits of his labor, per se. He's looking out at it, okay? So what am I looking at now? That's what he's saying. What have I done, and what's it looking like? What am I expecting going forward? But what have I already done? That's the Three of Wands, and that's how it differs from the 2. Now we have the Four of Wands. So what's important about the Four of Wands in any of the suits with the 4 is that 4 is a number representative of stability. So you will find that in each and every suit, the 4 is usually a very positive card. The Four of Wands talks about, so whenever you're thinking about four, think about stable and think about a table. That's a great way, that rhymes, but that's a great way to think of it. Like a table, has four legs, and that's what makes it stable. If, for example, you took one of the legs away, that table would not be stable, right? But the four is stable. So what we have here with the Four of Wands indicates stability within action. So the Four of Wands is really, to me, about stability in really anything, but something that you put action into, whether that be family. The Four of Wands can talk about family as well, but whether that be, a relationship, whether that be your job, whether that be your hobbies, it talks about a great stable time. That's the best way and shortest way you can describe that card. Now we have the Five of Wands. Now when we're looking at fives, you will find 5 is a number of kind of instability. 5 is usually, the fives in every suit is usually more of a negative card. And so here we have the Five of Wands. Now I want you to look really closely at this card. I like this card. It's actually a really great card. The reason being is that the Five of Wands talks about conflict. But when we're looking at conflict, if you look at the people in this card, look at how they all have their wands up, using them as weapons. But nobody's really looking at each other. You see that? They're kind of just like, he's looking over here, he's looking over here. They're not really looking at each other. And usually with the Five of Wands, it's conflict, but it's conflict that is not really needed to me when I read this card. Remember, I do read intuitively, so some of these messages, the meanings are still there, but they might be a little bit different. When I see the Five of Wands, it's conflict in the external reality that is really not doing any good for anyone. Especially the client whom you are reading for, okay? So think of Five of Wands, conflict. And when I say conflict, I'm talking about conflict on an external level, because you'll find when you look at swords and things like that with the mental body, remember we did talk about that in the overview, that's going to be internal conflict. This is external conflict, very important, external conflict. So if someone is fighting with another person, or maybe someone doesn't like their job and it's conflicting with, how they feel, it's external reality conflict. All right, next we have the Six of Wands. Nice card, very positive. You can probably guess what this card means. This is about being victorious, and this is about being recognized for your achievements by other people, but also by yourself. It's about being like, patting yourself on the back. Like, hey, Alyssa, you did a great job. You're recognizing all the work you put into something, okay? So that's what the Six of Wands is about. It's recognition for all the work that you have put in by yourself and by others, okay? It's recognition. Next, we have the Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands, you can see a man here. He's standing. He is putting these wands up, kind of creating like a barrier or a fence. The best way I can describe this one is standing your ground. So this card usually does come up, close to cards where maybe it would come up with the Five of Wands, conflict, things like that. But it's about continuing to stand your ground in a situation. It's not about retreating. It's not about backing down, but it's about standing the ground, standing your ground. Next, we do have the Eight of Wands. Now, the Eight of Wands is really easy to remember, I think. So you see the wands there, there's flying by. All, to me, the Eight of Wands means is rapid energy. It means quick moving. So like if, you are pulling cards, it's asking about a certain time frame, or just asking about when something's going to happen, who's going to come forward, whatever. This indicates it's going to happen fast and it's going to happen quick. So rapid energy is the Eight of Wands. Next, we have the Nine of Wands. The Knight of Wands is also kind of similar to that the other card where he was standing his ground, the Seven of Wands. But this card is really, sorry about that glare, is looking at feeling, the best way I read this is kind of just feeling defeated in a way, and feeling kind of like looking over his shoulder, and he's just like kind of feeling vulnerable, kind of feeling like, oh, in this situation. It's the best way I can describe that, at least the way I read it. It's feeling vulnerable. It's feeling like, notice he's got like a bandage on his head. He's been through a lot, a lot of trauma. He kind of wants to put this wand down, but he feels like he can't. Like he's still in that zone of, oh my gosh, I feel vulnerable, looking over his shoulder. That is the Nine of Wands. Now, this is a very important card, and you'll find that if you do readings for yourself or for others, this card will come up a lot because a lot of people deal with this energy of this card. This is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands essentially is about burdens. Notice that this man here, he's got 10 wands. Here's an important note though. Notice how we're at the end of the Ace to 10. The 10 is kind of the final step before moving past something, right, in every suit. And so in a way, when someone's in the Ten of Wands, they're getting close to kind of finishing that cycle of what that suit was, except, they might return again to other parts of the suit, go back to the Ace, go back to the 2, whatever. But that is to note as well. Now, the Ten of Wands, each of these wands here, look at him, he's carrying these sticks. And you can see here, it looks like he's going somewhere. Let's say, he's going to his village or whatever. Now, you can say here, wow, right? That looks like a lot of sticks. If he just maybe sat down, put down some of those sticks, it would be easier for him. As in, maybe he could put half of those sticks down, walk, and then come back. And yeah, it would take more time, but it would be easier. Or maybe he could, get a cart and wheel them. But instead, he's choosing to take all of them at once. Clearly, it's painful for him. It looks like, his back's hurting. It's hard work, but he does it anyway. And what this indicates is that each of these wands is usually an element in somebody's reality. So for example, your things you deal with, but then what people tend to do is they tend to take on other people's problems and issues, right? Been there, done that. Raise your hand if you have too. A lot of people do that. Where, whether it be a family member, just a friend, you tend to kind of absorb, because a lot of you that are watching this are probably they are probably empaths. It's really easy to absorb other people's pains and traumas and worries and problems. And that's something we're not meant to do, but it does sometimes happen. So for example, let's say this stick indicates your relationship with your partner, and it's not going so well. This stick represents the job that no longer suits your inner needs. This stick represents the spiritual beliefs that you once held that you don't really hold anymore, but you're still holding on to them. This indicates, the fact that your mom is sick. This indicates the fact that, we could go on and on. Worries of the world that you can't control. Somebody ghosted you, but you still hold on to it even though you can't control it. We could go on and on. And so the thing is what you will realize with this Ten of Wands is that a lot of the sticks that this client or yourself is carrying are things that you cannot control. A lot of them are burdens that you have put upon yourself of other people. Some of them are your own burdens, but a lot of times with your own issues, like say the relationship, the work, you are able to fix that, but you are not able to fix other people's issues, right? And so that's about this card. When this comes up is a card that you need to discuss with your client or yourself about what in your reality does no longer align with you because you're taking on too much, okay? So that's the 10 of Wands. Okay, so we went through the Ace through 10, the numbers. Now we have the Court cards, and Court cards are always just a little bit kind of specific. I think it's kind of hard to read a court card just by itself. The number cards are a lot easier to read by themselves. But with the court cards, you really need to read cards next to it, but you can still look at them. We'll still look at them independently. So we have the Page of Wands here. Remember, if you didn't watch the overview, I did talk about the page being very student energy, novice energy, or it could indicate a young person, or even maybe immaturity in some readings. But the page is like, a learning student energy. It's learning. It could be learning about things that you want to do, taking the first steps and looking into it and learning. But if, you are talking about a person, this could indicate a person younger than you, a younger person of a fire sign, right? Because the wands do represent the fire element. There's a lot of ways the page can be seen. Next, we have the Knight. So again, remember these can be indicative of people, but we're going to just set that aside. The Knight of Wands indicates a very fast-moving person, or well, here's the thing too. It can indicate a person, like in your external reality, the client's external reality, but it also can indicate the archetype you're taking on. So you, for example, the reader, if you're reading for yourself, can take on the energy and the archetype of the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is talking about somebody who has absolutely, I want to say, almost no, what's the word I'm looking for? Hesitance. That's the word I'm looking for. No hesitance. They just full forward, go ahead. They're just not caring. They're just storming ahead. And sometimes that can be a great energy. It's very spontaneous. Sometimes, obviously, it can not be so great. And again, this depends on the cards around it. But this is somebody full force ahead, going, not looking back. Boom. That's the Knight of Wands. Now we next have the King of Wands. So remember in the overview, we did talk about kings being that more masculine energy, which is more structured, methodical, which is interesting because, you know, the wand energy is not necessarily structured and methodical, but when you put it with the King of Wands, it kind of becomes so. So this is a King of Wands energy is actually very mature, and it is very structured yet spontaneous, okay? That's what the King of Wands is. It's very masculine as well. That's what it represents as a person. But I know these court cards aren't the best explanations because it is difficult with the court cards without drawing other cards. But that's the best way I can describe it. I would put down in your notes masculine, mature, can indicate a mature person, a person with a lot of masculine energy, but yet somebody who is very structured. Now the Queen of Wands. This one is one of my favorite cards. So in the Major Arcana video, we did talk about the Magician. And I did say that the Magician is like the most powerful manifester card in the deck. This is like the second most powerful manifestation card. The Queen of Wands is somebody who gets what they want, but it is somebody who is manifesting a lot of their desires, a lot of their elements of their reality. The Queen energy, though, again, we have more of the feminine energy. So again, that's more empathetic, empathic, sensitive. It is more intuitive. But the Queen of Wands, think of it very similar, at least to me, think of it very similar to the Magician. It's a master manifester card. If this is, you know, you're reading for somebody and you pull this and you're reading around, you know, the other cards around, and it seems like this is the archetype that they are embodying, that's a very positive thing. If, for say, this card was in reverse, then maybe you would say, okay, well, this person needs to believe in themselves more. This person needs to hold that master manifester energy. But that's the Queen. Okay, so I know those are very general, but the whole point is we're going over these things kind of generally because it's just kind of a basic course. And then we will do sample readings at the end. So I hope that that helps. Obviously, though, remember, guys, I do want to let you know that it's so important you read intuitively. There is so much you can look into the tarot. You can look at the symbols, you know, of the cat, the sunflowers. There is so much you can look into about it. But that is what I have for you guys today for the wands. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. And we're going to be going over all the other suits, and then we'll have some sample readings as well. So have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.